Welcome to a century of racing. From the earliest flickering, almost comical black and white pictures to the high-tech special effects of today, we're going to take you through 100 years on the flat. It's a tale of great horses and races, supported by the richest cast of characters. The 20th century was when racing became a true democracy, moving from toffs pastime to people's sport. 7 times champion jumps jockey John Francome.
Almost every sport has a spiritual centre. St Andrews is the undisputed home of golf, Lord's is the world's most famous cricket ground, and for racing, well, it all began here at Newmarket back in the late 17th century when King Charles II started the ball rolling by organising some races for his aristocratic chums. Today, almost 300 years later, Newmarket is still the centre of the racing world.
Edwardian Newmarket, high public standards and dodgy private morals, a bit like today. Royal patronage was important, and King Edward VII won the 1900 Derby with Diamond Jubilee. The Twin Peaks were 2 fillies, Scepter, who won 4 classics and was 3rd in the 1902 Derby, and Pretty Polly, who won the Triple Crown in 1904. In 1907, Albie won the Derby and was led in by his owner, the New York Irish political fixer, Boss Croker. In 1909, Edward VII's Guineas winner Minoru was a strong fancy to follow up in the Derby. As ever, crowds thronged the Downs, and a heavy plod presence is clearly no modern phenomenon. The race was run at its usual breakneck gallop round the ups and downs of Epsom. But in the end, it was Minoru who prevailed at 7-2 after heavy popular public support, and jockey Herbert Jones had a struggle to get the winner back to unsaddle. Two years later, the king was dead, and under official mourning, Royal Ascot became known forever as Black Ascot. The biggest punters of the age, arguably of any age, were the fabled Druids Lodge Confederacy, who plotted coups worth tens of millions at today's values. Jack Fallon trained for them in conditions of great secrecy, and the stable lads were locked in at night so that the info couldn't get out. And you could spot a tout at 5 miles on the expanses of Salisbury Plain. The 1913 Derby was a touch for them, but also a tragedy. In a horrifying incident at Tattenham Corner, the suffragette activist Emily Davidson ran in front of the King's horse Anma and was killed. Nor was it the race's only controversy, with the winner Craganor thrown out for interfering with Aboyeur, who got the race at 100-1, landing the Confederacy millions. Pedigree is power in racing, and influential families have cultivated great bloodlines. King Edward VII with Minoru. The royal family have bred on an extensive scale, one of their greatest moments coming with the 1977 Jubilee year Leger victory of Dunfermline. Lord Derby, the black and white colours and white button. Lord Howard de Walden's apricot silks. The hoops of the fearsome Lord Rosebery. The Tetrarch, effective founder of the Aga Khan's bloodlines, here Mumtaz Mahal. And their great Triple Crown winner, Bahram. And from Mumtaz Mahal, a daughter, the mighty Petite Etoile. The red and black Joel colours spanned the century. And Anglophile American Paul Mellon struck gold with Mill Reef. A real one-off, oilman Nelson Bunker Hunt. The fiery Paris art dealer Daniel Wildenstein. And still tasting success, the Aga Khan with Sindar in the 2000 Derby. Longchamp's Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe was first run in 1920 and won by the Newmarket-trained Comrade, though it was 28 years before the next British victory, Migoli, in 1948. But none have won the race twice except this fellow, Alleged, and Lester Piggott in 77 and 78. One of Leicester's most illustrious predecessors, Steve Donoghue, who was champion from 1914 to 23 and won the Derby on Humorist in 21. The following year, a bit of trouble at the start in the 1922 Derby. In those days, such false starts were a commonplace. It was the time when coverage of racing began to improve and there were technical innovations. At last, the viewing public, such as they were, could see the action as it really was. This was the second year in succession that Steve Donoghue had won the Derby, Captain Cuttle triumphant. And slow motion, the innovations never end. Over to France, coverage from abroad, another step forward. Cauthen winning the Grand Prix de Paris. And in those days, they got a crowd on a French racecourse. The early internationalisation of racing, Steve Donoghue triumphing in France. Back in England, the 23 Derby and an aerial police shot. They were worried about traffic. They were expecting 15,000 cars. The open-top buses, and they're still there today, some of them needing an MOT. But the race goes to Papyrus. He beats Pharos of Lord Derby's, and that's 3 on the trot for Steve Donoghue. And here you have it once again, an unavailing run in second by Lord Derby's colours, but better was to come, because the founding family of the greatest horse race in the world was to get a result 12 months later. The first for 137 years, Sansovino scoots up by 6 lengths. The man on top, returning in triumph to the unsaddling, Tommy Weston. In 1929, they found a new way for you to lose your money. The Tote opened for business at Hurst Park, with specially new, strange buildings devised for the purpose of picking your pocket. It was also the year the mighty Brown Jack, Steve Donoghue's greatest ally, went at Royal Ascot for his 6th consecutive victory in the Queen Alexandra Stakes. Nothing like it had been seen before, has been seen since, or will be in the future. This great staying pair, Brown Jack and Donoghue, triumphed for the 6th consecutive time. The end of the season, his last season, he shared the championship with Charlie Elliott. Steve Donoghue, one of racing's all-time greats. And there's young Elliott, doesn't look very happy in front of the camera, but he was to go on to great things. And a few pounds and a few years later, Brown Jack and Steve reunited at Leicester Racecourse. In 1930, a brilliant idea, the Irish Hospital Sweepstake, a chance for the man in the street to win a fortune and serve a fine cause, the building of hospitals in Ireland. They eventually went on to sponsor the Irish Derby in the 60s, and the permanent monument is the lights of the mighty St Vincent's Hospital in Dublin.
One of the beauties of racing is the way in which the brilliance of a top-class racehorse can be handed down generations by its influence at stud. And a classic example was Hyperion, who won the Derby for his owner Lord Derby in 1933. He was only little, not much more than the pony really, but he was leading sire 5 times from 1940 to 1946, and he had a lasting and worldwide effect on the breed.
The 1933 Derby, the customary crowds, they come by coach and 4, they come by topless bus in the usual queues, and look at the number of them. The royal family, Queen Mary and King George, are on hand for a classic occasion. A big field, a huge crowd, and plenty of business for those bookie chappies. But this was to be the year of Hyperion. Tommy Weston, who'd won on Sansovino, in the saddle, the usual rush across the course for extra vantage points, the swoop down and round Tattenham Corner, spooking the police horse in front, and miles in front, Hyperion, putting his stamp on the race and indeed on the stud book for generations to come. Another great of the era, Barham. He'd won the Guineas, he was at Epsom for the 35 Derby, and the innovation of a commentary, or something like it.
Field trial, Lord Essex Colt, a known stare, was #1 due to his former reputation with a great run. Switching over to position on the grandstand, we can see how Barham passes field trial. Field trial struggles on gamely, but Robin Goodfellow's Ray Bailey's horse overtakes him as Barham flashes past the post by 2 lengths to win for the Aga Khan. A really fine race and a magnificent winner, perfectly ridden by Freddie Fox.
On to Donny for the Ledger, and a huge crowd geared up to see whether Barham could do the Triple Crown.
Coming into the straight, Barham shows what he's made of and romps home an easy winner by 5 lengths. Here he is, Barham, the horse of the century.
The previous Triple Crown winner had been Roxand in 1903. The man on the right doing the knitting is in a wartime substitute at Newmarket in the Great War, when Permern, Gay Crusader and Gainsborough all won the Triple Crown, but it doesn't count because it was Newmarket. 1937 and the Derby at Epsom. It was won by Midday Sun, but listen to our commentator friend as he makes the extraordinary discovery that the winner is owned by a... oh, he can't mention it. And the runner-up is also owned by a similar unmentionable.
On the rails is striding out after the Aga Khan's hat-trick. And there's Midday Sun, ridden by Michael Berry and owned by a woman. He's burning up the track in a sudden blaze of speed. His colours are dark with light sleeves and he's going on to win. But wait a second, what about Sandsprite, owned by another woman and sprinting up on the outside? No, Midday Sun just has enough to spare. He wins. 2 women owners dispute an Epsom honour which has never fallen to a woman before.
Forget the vote, emancipation at last. The 2,000 guineas of 1939, and the hopefuls gather on Newmarket's Rowley Mile. The race was to fall to a horse who goes down as an unlucky one. He won the Guineas, he won the Derby, but the outbreak of war denied him the Ledger.
Romeo leads from Blue Peter and Fairstone. Then Blue Peter, taking over, is followed by Admiral's Walk and Fairstone. He comes home at a strong pace to win from Admiral's Walk by half a length. He was joined... Furlong. Larchfield, an outsider, jumps into the lead, and he takes the rails, closely followed by Heliopolis, Ortiz, Fairfax, with Buxton on the outside. And where's Blue Peter? He comes up and he challenges Casanova. He masters Casanova and he challenges Heliopolis. He beats Heliopolis to it, but in the meantime, Blue Peter, ridden easily, absolutely walks away from the field. And he wins comfortably by 4 lengths, with Fox Cub second and Heliopolis third.
Proof that great things come in small packages comes in the shape of Sir Gordon Richards, 26 times champion jockey, and a man held in great affection from the highest in the land to the man in the street, who knew him simply as Gordon, and after his investiture at the Palace, Sir Gordon. He tried to win the Derby 28 times and finally succeeded on his last attempt on the mighty Pinzer, a result that was greeted throughout the racing world with universal acclaim and real delight. With the nation at war, racing was focused on Newmarket and business as usual out on the heath. Some courses have been ploughed up, others taken over by the military, but the classics were run at Newmarket, and the royal family had the 2 favourites, a surprise visit by the King for the Oaks to see his son Chariot.
Comfortable win for the King's filly. Taking the lead after a bad start, she finished a length ahead of Afterthought.
The King in his RAF uniform leads in Sun Chariot and Gordon Richards. He owned the favourite, Big Game, odds-on for the Derby, up against Lord Derby's Watling Street.
Well, Big Game, who according to his jockey ran too freely in the early stages, came up to 4th place and even took the lead 3 furlongs from home. But Watling Street, who had worked through from 8th place, came up behind Hyperion, leading the field to beat him and win in record time with the Royal Colt unplaced.
Another triumph for those famous colours. Lord Derby wins another Derby. On to the 1949 Derby, mother and daughter surveying the field for what was to be an innovative Derby. The first ever technically aided photo finish. As usual, all to play for as they ploughed down into the straight.
But here's another thrill. Suddenly, making a terrific spurt, Ammo Drake comes up. There he is on the outside. Passing Royal Forest, he moves up to challenge Nimbus and Swallowtail. A tremendous race. Watch carefully. 100 yards from home, the leaders appear to swing across, and Ammo Drake takes the inside position. On to the closest finish for years, and the first Derby photo finish ever, with Nimbus there by a head, Ammo Drake second, and Swallowtail third.
A close run thing, but Nimbus's backers are on cloud 9. (1950) and a marvellous year for the French multi-millionaire entrepreneur Marcel Boussac. A huge figure in the game in France, this was his year of years, with Galileo doing the business in the Derby.
And L'Amiral began to come up fast, followed by Coruscant, Castle Rock, Galileo and Vieux Manoir. France was coming into the picture with a vengeance. Prince Simon led into the straight, and it still looked like his Derby. L'Amiral couldn't catch him, but there was another French horse not far away who could. Backers of Prince Simon are almost counting their money when Ray Johnson brought Galileo through to make his great run. After threading his way through, Galileo challenges the favourite. Now he passes Prince Simon and looks like leaving him well behind. Then Prince Simon comes again, it's too late. And Galileo wins the Derby by a head with Double Eclipse third. Ah, well, I hope Princess Elizabeth got a good film of the finish, which was just about as exciting as a finish could be.
On to Doncaster for the St Leger, and this time the Marcel Boussac representative is scratched too, with Ray Johnston in the saddle. Pundits of the game should have a look at use or abuse of the whip in the closing stages.
Round the bend towards the straight, Saturn was still in front, but in a moment you'll see Vieux Manoir, ridden by Lomang in hooped shirt, begin his run. Now it certainly begins to look as if the favourite's going to win. Scratch the second to challenge. Both French colts are under severe pressure, but it's Ray Johnson who's going to bring his mount home to victory. Yes, Scratch has it by a length from the favourite. Another brilliant success for owner, jockey and France.
The newly crowned Queen Elizabeth II on hand at Epsom to watch her aureole in the Derby. But this was the Derby that was to belong to Sir Gordon Richards. Successful at last at the 28th and final attempt.
For victory by taking a runaway lead. Certainly he held on to and even increased it for a great part of the race. Mountain King, Jaffa II, showed the way round Tattenham Corner, and here it was too that Pincer came along into second place. Into the straight, it was Shaikampur with Pincer in hot pursuit. From now on we can see just how Gordon brought his mount along with a devastating run that could only spell victory. When Pincer passed Shaikampur, the Aga Khan's hopes faded right away, and Oriole, followed by Pink Horse, now came through to take second and third places. But the finish was all Pincer, who went on to pass the post 4 lengths ahead of the Queen's Oriole and alone in the picture.
Sir Gordon wins the Derby at last. One of the most popular men of his generation and a true knight.
The 50s saw the emergence of one of the most brilliant, talented but ruthless jockeys the sport has ever known. Having ridden his first winner aged 12, Lester Piggott was 18 when he became the 20th century's youngest winning Derby jockey aboard Never Say Die in 1954. He had a long association with training legends Noel Merlius and Vincent O'Brien, and that kept him aboard most of the best horses for the following few decades. Well, his clashes with authority and his ferocious will to win kept him a firm favourite with the public.
Lester Piggott, a phenomenon from the very first, here with Father Keith, learning the trade, a trade that he was to master. The 1954 Derby, Churchill in the Royal Box, and the first win for Lester in a race he was to make his own.
Never Say Die and Elopement were also going well near the leaders. Downhill at a cracking pace with the issues still absolutely open. Then in the straight run for home, Never Say Die began to draw away from Darius on the rails. Yes, this is where the derbies are usually won or lost. And now with Never Say Die looking a clear winner, Arabian Night makes a bid for glory. He's overhauling Darius with every stride, but he can't get up to Never Say Die, who maintains his two-length lead right to the finish. A grand win from Arabian Night and Darius by this 33-1 long shot.
The long love affair with the Derby had begun for Lester Piggott. He was to go on to dominate the race for decades. And astoundingly, 22 years on from that first victory, he won it for a record 7th time.
And he's tracked still by Radetzky, Relkino right on the outside, Ombre nears the rails, and so they head for home, 3 furlongs still to go. And it's Gerard Ribot still in the lead with Batiste. Then comes Relkino, the leading two are then pressed by Ombre. Tierra Fuego tries to run on the outside, so too is Oates. And Waller's under pressure, and so they have 2 furlongs still to run. And it's Relkino and Joe Mercer in the lead now from Batiste. And then comes Ombre in 3rd place, Oates is 4th, then comes Hawkesbury, and Waller making a tremendous hard work of it, but he's not going to get to them because they've now come towards the final furlong. And it's Lester Piggott on Ombre now takes up from Relkino. Then comes Overton on the far side of Batiste. They've got about 150 yards to go. And it's Lester Piggott. He's done it again on Ombre. They come up towards the line. Ombre wins the Derby from Relkino.
Nobody rode Epsom like Lester did. In fact, nobody rode classic winners like Lester did. Eventually, he was to break the great Frank Buckle's record of 27 classic winners, and he did it in the St. Ledger.
And they begin the sweep for home, and Librate has done well to last this long. Command You Run, Lester Piggott now poised on his outside. Alpha Beta not getting a clear run. Squeeze there as Destroyer weakens. But Command You Run goes on 4 out. Could this be too soon? Just in behind him comes Baynoon. Chernazar is improving. The French horse is 2 from the left of the picture. And the race really develops with 3 to go. And it's Lester Piggott who looks around. He sees Chernazar and Walter Swinburne and Baynoon as his main challengers. Alpha Beta is under pressure, so too is Crazy. They've got 2.5 to go. Command You Run, joined by Baynoon and Chernazar. Then Alpha Beta and Crazy, only 5 in the ledger. And with just a furlong and a half to go, it's Command You Run who leads. Command You Run, Lester Piggott, with Baynoon throwing down the challenge on his outside. Lester Piggott and Steve Cauthen, and up on the outside, Walter Swinburne on Chernazar. A furlong to go. Command You Run and Baynoon. Command You Run and Baynoon. Command You Run from Baynoon and Crazy. Well inside the final furlong, and it's Lester Piggott going on. This one for the record, the 28th Classic, as Command You Run wins the ledger from Baynoon second, Alpha Beta in 3rd. Then came Crazy 4 and Chernazar 5. A big gap to Montbazil 6, and then came Primus at 7. Then Get the Message, and behind these came Destroyer. At Talaka, most disappointing run, and last of all was Librate. And so Lester Piggott, the world's greatest jockey, has achieved his lifetime ambition by winning his 28th Classic and the record holder of all time.
He wipes away a few marks, but nobody will ever wipe away the marks he has made. The 1956 King George at Ascot, and an Italian superstar on hand. But Belgian jockey Van den Driesche loses his head a bit at the start. But he's a glutton for punishment, this fellow, and he's soon trying to be reunited with the horse who nearly did him in. Eventually, they are.
Eventually remounted, Todrai was off with the rest of the field on the long-delayed start. Todrai, in spite of having cantered for over 2 miles, now showed the way round, followed by Damon, number 4, and Italy's famous Ribot. In the straight, he soon overhauled the leaders and shot to the front. He went on to win by 5 lengths from Highfelt to scoop the prize of over £23,000. A wonder horse indeed.
One of the century's true greats, Ribot has left an indelible mark on the breed. Having won Grand Nationals, Gold Cups and Champion Hurdles, Vincent O'Brien turned his attention to the flat. And in 1957, his Ballymoss was narrowly beaten in the Derby by Capello. He went on to win the Ledger that year, and in 1958, in desperate ground, he won the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe.
A fabulous racing shot recalls the moment of triumph, the moment when Scobie Breesley sends Ballymoss to the front, there to stay. That's how the Irish Wonder Horse boosts its winnings to £100,000. And even his disappointing run in the Laurel Park International doesn't stop Ballymoss from being the Horse of the Year.
The first O'Brien Horse of the Year, but by no means the last. In 1962, he ran Larkspur in the Derby. The race was marred by the fall of Heatherset and 6 others, but this was the first of 6 wins in the Epsom Derby for the legendary Vincent O'Brien.
When this film was released, it was agreed that no pictures would be shown of the dramatic pile-up involving the favourite and 6 others. So now round the corner and into the straight, and Larkspur begins to make his bid. Selwood was really piling it on now. Can they keep up that pace? Yes, it really must be Larkspur now. Arcor and Le Cantillion haven't a hope of catching him. Well, that's it, but sad to see riderless horses in the Derby.
The preeminent trainer of his generation on this side of the water was Noel Merlis.
There's the Derby winner. Wish I'd known.
He saddled St Paddy in the 1960 Derby, and it proved a wonderful victory for a team that would be together for years, Piggott and Merlis.
Port St Anne was first to nose in front with Tudor Period, Oak Ridge, Marengo and Die Hard close up. The head-on view of the galloping field shows just how thrilling a ride in the Derby must be, how tricky at times too. Round the corner and into the straight, Die Hard, Arroy, Kithnos and Paddy and Alcius. Leicester's reported as saying that this was the easiest Derby win he'd had, and he'd had 2 before. Triumph in itself. And what a triumph for his owner, winner of 4 Derbies in 8 years. Well done, Paddy, says Sir Victor Sassoon.
In 1967, Royal Palace was favourite for the Derby, ridden by the marvellous Australian pilot George Moore. Ironically, the Merlis-Piggott relationship, which had its ups and downs, was having a down at this time, and Leicester was on Ribocco, but the artist was Moore on Royal Palace.
And here's the horse you're waiting to see. On the rails, the Crimson Cap of the favourite. Coming up on the outside, Ribocco. Here's the Crimson Cap on the right of the screen. George Moore on the favourite, Royal Palace, coming up to beat Leicester Piggott on Ribocco in a spectacular finish. Congratulations, Royal Palace. Not forgetting that great Australian rider, George Moore, on his first Derby win.
Racing's about winners, but also, sadly, losers. And during the 60s and 70s, it was a period of attrition for racecourses. We lost Lanark, venue for the oldest race in the country, the Silver Bell, in 77. Aintrig's Flat Course, where Red Rum won, went in 76. Manchester lost its November handicap to Doncaster, and Lincoln its Lincoln to the same venue in 63 and 4. Ali Pally, much loved in London, went, and probably most missed of all, Hurst Park.
Goodbye, Hurst Park. More than 150 years of racing has ended with the closing of the course, which is to be developed as a housing estate. Hurst Park has a host of memories. Its stands were burnt down by suffragettes. It was London's first course to have the tote. It was always a friendly course, And even on the last day, you could still place a tanner bet on the last race ever to be run there, the Byfleet Stakes. These are sad moments for every follower of the sport of kings, but sometimes even kings take a fall.
One of the best-loved horses of the early 60s was that dour but brilliant stayer Trelawney. In 62, he did the double at Ascot, the Ascot Stakes, and 3 days later, the Queen Alexandra.
Over on the far rails, they're coming to the furlong from home marker now, and it's narrators in the centre from Sublime, and Trelawney coming there very fast on the stand side, and it's Trelawney who's come storming through now to go to the front. 150 yards to run, and it's Trelawney now who's gone clear of Determination and Forthwith and Doomsday finishing fast. 20 yards to run, and Trelawney, the top weight, is well clear. 15 yards to run, and Trelawney striding well clear of his stable companion Forthwith, who's second. Third is Doomsday, fourth Determination.
The amazing Trelawney. 2 years earlier, he'd broken a cannon bone and was condemned to death. George Todd was his fourth trainer.
And it's agreement on the far side, Mossbank in the centre, Trelawney on the stand side. Inside the final furlong now, and it's agreement from Trelawney and Mossbank. Agreement on the far side, Trelawney on the stand side, Trelawney going ahead now, and it's Trelawney on the stand side from agreement on the far side, Mossbank in third place, coming up to the line, and it's Trelawney just the leader from agreement, and at the line, Trelawney's the winner. Agreement is second, Mossbank is third.
A brilliant double for the great Trelawney, and 12 months later, he did it again.
Indeed, few horses have struck such a chord with the Royal Ascot crowd. He was a real trooper.
But it's Trelawney out in front.
And that's where he stayed over 2.5 miles and did exactly the same over 2 3/4 just days later. In the mid-60s, the Aussies arrived.
Santa Claus with champion jockey Scobie Breesley, and we're all set for the richest race Britain has ever known. A prize of over £72,000. They're away and up the hill with 1.5 miles to go. The leaders in a tight bunch, Oncidium, Baldrick, Indiana and Hot Rye among them, Balustrade and Cold Slipper too. Indiana moving up and Dilettante holding on with Anselmo there as Santa Claus comes pounding up on the outside. Indiana and Santa Claus, Indiana with Santa Claus closing up, and he's going through. And he's done it. Victory by a length.
Australian Scobie Breesley clinches the Derby. A great import from down under. But the man from Australia with the greatest opportunity to make history, Pat Glennon, getting into the saddle on arguably the finest horse of the century, Seabird II.
And they're away up the hill. 1.5 miles ahead of them. Nixar makes a good beginning with I Say, Sunicelli, and the outsider Bam Royal. Rounding Cheltenham Corner, it's Sunicelli, Nixar, Gulf Pearl, Meadow Court, and I Say. And I Say, what about Seabird? And up from behind the leaders, the French colt starts his run. Here's the picture that really shows you how the Derby was won. Pat Glennon in green silks and Seabird taking wing. Yes, Seabird's airborne, winging his way past the leaders. What a fantastically powerful finish.
Powerful finish, possibly the understatement of the decade. He won his Derby hard-held. He went on to beat probably the finest Arc de Triomphe field ever assembled. Seabird, a remarkable thoroughbred racehorse. From one-off to another, the greatest stallion influence of all time, Northern Dancer. In 65, he retired to stud for his remarkable career. And a big plus for punters against bitter establishment opposition, starting stalls at last.
Well padded to prevent injuries, each unit has 10 stalls and costs about £2,200. Advantages over the rising gate, the horses all start level, they come out running in a straight line, and there's no delay from horses turning around just before the off. We filmed Britain's first ever starting stall start in slow motion.
And a year later, in 1966, another great step forward, as Florence Nagle, pictured here in her old age on the right, was the first lady trainer to be given a licence. The late 60s and early 70s were the golden years of the Leicester Piggott-Vincent O'Brien partnership. and in 1968, they were the trainer and rider of the Derby favourite Sir Ivor, winner of the 2,000 guineas earlier in the year. Spearheading the English challenge was the Noel Merlis-trained Connaught, a redoubtable galloper and one which would undoubtedly have caught the royal eye in the paddock. Leicester is in the saddle. The starter's on his rostrum.
And they're away. And the first to show over on the far side is Society. Society from Mount Athos. Connaught right up there. Laureate on the inside with Roman. And it's not a fast gallop at the moment. First-rate power to the back marker. And now Ben Roy has broken away from him and gone on by a good 3 to 4 lengths. They're running down into Tattenham Corner now, and it's Connaught who's gone to the front. Connaught and Sandy Barkley with a great challenge towards the outside, but it's Connaught the leader. Connaught as they race up towards the line from Sir Ivor in second. Sir Ivor gaining on Connaught as they race towards the line. Sir Ivor's going to take it up, and at the line Sir Ivor's won the Derby. Connaught is second, Mount Athos is third. Leicester Piggott.
He was a spectacular winner. It was Leicester's fourth Derby, and netted £62,500 for owner Raymond Guest, who'd had 500 each way at 100s with William Hill himself. Sir Ivor was surprisingly beaten in the Irish Derby by the Fulk Johnson Horton-trained Ribeiro, ridden, yes, you guessed it, by Leicester Piggott. And Piggott was also on board Charles Engelhard's Ribot colt in the St Leger, when he was seen at his most artistic self, showing for the umpteenth time that he knew exactly where the winning post was. The sport of flat racing was by now becoming increasingly international. Sir Ivor's autumn target was the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe at Longchamp, but he would come up against one of the highest-rated racehorses of all time.
Is Vaguely Noble exploding right out of the pack and going right away from him now, streaking away into the home stretch with Rosalia following, and Sir Ivor putting in a sprint just in behind him, but nothing will peg back Vaguely Noble. He's striding on, he's keeping up a relentless, powerful gallop as he races up towards the line. Sir Ivor striving to get at him, but he can't cut down that lead at all. It's Vaguely Noble clear of Sir Ivor in second, Cauthen finishing well in third, but at the line, Vaguely Noble from Sir Ivor and Cauthen. And what a real championship performance this by Vaguely Noble, and no wonder that Etienne Pollet, who's trained him so brilliantly with this one race in mind, puts him in the Seabird class.
Undaunted, the Sir Ivor bandwagon then headed off to the east coast of the USA for the Washington, D.C. International at Laurel Park. And Piggott would demonstrate to his American audience the supreme art of riding the waiting race.
Alexander and Fort Marcy, Cauthen on the outside, and now Leicester Piggott winkling Sir Ivor out for challenge, and as he does so, Sir Ivor produces a devastating thrust. He's getting to him now, he's eating him up like a great champion, he's pulverizing him, and at the line, Sir Ivor's made it.
Piggott was now established as one of the all-time greats, and his all-conquering partnership with the Irish genius Vincent O'Brien was to reach new heights with Charles Engelhard's magnificent American-bred colt, Nijinsky. Many regard Nijinsky as being in the top 6 of all time, and in the 1970 Derby, he put up a performance of sheer brilliance.
Take it up from Sheer and racing up towards the line. It's a miss for Leicester Piggott. Nijinsky's gone clear. Nijinsky's the winner. Sheer is second.
Pure class from Nijinsky. A third Derby win for Vincent O'Brien, but there was better to come. He was to go on to become the first Triple Crown winner since Barham, and en route to Doncaster, he put up a stunning performance in the King George.
Nijinsky and Leicester Piggott towards the stand side with Hogarth making ground over on the far side now. They're coming into the final furlong, and it's Nijinsky striding away from him. Nijinsky going away, being chased by Blakeney now. It's the 2 Derby winners who look like being first and second. Leicester Piggott looks over his shoulder. Blakeney's making ground on him, but Leicester's just letting him canter and racing up towards the line. It's a miss for Leicester Piggott. Nijinsky's gone clear. Nijinsky's the winner.
Some people felt that Nijinsky was just about at the end of his tether in the St Leger, especially in the last furlong. Would you subscribe to that view?
No, because he won terribly easy, really. And when he goes to the front, he doesn't do any more than he has to, you know. And well, he went to the front about 2 furlongs from home in the St Leger because the others were going so slow, you know, they couldn't go any faster. And he just wasn't doing anything.
If Meadowville had come to join you in the last furlong, could you have found a bit more?
Oh, yeah, he'd have pulled a lot out.
Is there any danger that having been trained and having run in the Leger, this might have taken the edge off Nijinsky?
I don't think so, because he didn't train him for the Leger, really. He just looked upon it as a gallop for the Arc de Triomphe.
But Leicester's bravado, a gallop for the Arc de Triomphe, proved misplaced, and Nijinsky was to end his career with 2 defeats, one at Longchamp and then in Newmarket's Champion Stakes.
And here comes Nijinsky on the stand side, but it's missed down, being challenged by Sassafras, and here comes Lester Piggott on Nijinsky. They've got a furlong to run, and it's Nijinsky coming to take it up from Sassafras. Sassafras and Nijinsky, Sassafras going on, and Lester Piggott's riding for dear life, but at the line it's Sassafras the winner, Nijinsky is second.
Sometimes you can wait years to see a truly great racehorse, and then, like London buses, 2 will come along at once. Well, the early 70s saw the emergence of both Reef and Brigadier Gerard, both hugely popular, and although the Brigadier won their only clash in the Guineas, it was Reef who went on to take the Derby, the King George and the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe in the colours of that man famous for being a fan of all things English, Mr. Paul Mellon. Well, sadly, Reef broke his leg, aged only 4 on the gallops, but he was saved and sent to the National Stud here, right next to the July course, where this statue stands in his honour.
The 71 guineas, probably one of the greatest guineas ever run. My Swallow, Reef and the Brigadier.
And these 4 coming right away, as one rather expected they would. And now the whips are up as they run down into the dip, and it's Brigadier Gerard on this side, Reef in the centre, My Swallow on the far side, Minsky in 4th place, and Brigadier Gerard is in front as they come up the hill with 150 yards to go. It's Brigadier Gerard on this side, who is well in front. There's nothing between Reef and My Swallow. Reef is going to be second, but Brigadier Gerard has won it at the breast. Brigadier Gerard is the winner. Reef second. It's Linden Tree, Lombard and Reef striking the front now in the Derby, and Reef going on now from Linden Tree on his inside. It's Reef and Linden Tree into the final furlong. Reef the leader, Linden Tree second, Irish Ball's finishing first, coming to the line, and Reef the winner. Linden Tree second, Irish Ball is third, and 4th against a draw away inside the
Jeff Lewis returns after the Derby, wearing one of those "I've never sat on anything like it in my life" smiles, and he hadn't. On to King George and Ascot, and an even more superior performance.
Acclimatization, then Northern Guillemot. Stintino's making good ground. Irish Ball's under pressure and getting nowhere now as they round the home turn. It's Ortis now from Politico, and Reef in the sheepskin nose band coming there very strongly, being chased by Acclimatization, and Stintino coming there towards the outside. It's Ortis, Reef, Acclimatization and Stintino, but Reef striking the front now as they race towards the furlong pole. It's Reef being chased by Acclimatization and Stintino. They're racing into the final 150 yards, and it's Reef clear of Ortis. Then comes Acclimatization and Stintino, and racing up towards the line, already getting a tremendous reception from the crowd. The Derby winner's hacked up. It's Reef, the fantastic winner of the King George. Second is Ortis. It's a photo for third.
Huge applause for Reef, but undoubtedly his greatest triumph was when he repelled the much-vaunted French fillies in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe that autumn.
Diving for the inside, spot the sheepskin nose band as Reef is through, and it's Reef coming to challenge. Halley's in the centre, Pistol Packer putting in a great run towards the stand side, just in behind his Caro, and it's Reef on the far side. Reef for England, Pistol Packer for France, then comes Caro. Halley's beaten encumbrance here, finishing well, but striding into the final furlong. It's Reef, going to be the first English train winner for 23 years. He's clear of Pistol Packer and coming up towards the line. Reef is the winner from Pistol Packer second.
The little horse now seemed unbeatable, and his 4-year-old career kicked off back in France with a spellbinding performance in the Prix Gannet. Reef goes down to the start like someone who knows he's on show. No wonder trainer Ian Balding said that nothing moved better than the little horse.
The outside, towards the right as we see them now, but still Mary Slipper in the lead from the white-faced Conquistador. Then Reef, who's moved into third now and coming on the outside to join Conquistador. Then comes El Toro going strongly just in behind him. They're beginning to race towards into the home stretch now, and Reef is suddenly taken off from Conquistador and El Toro, and he's striding away from them, and Jeff Lewis a peep over his left shoulder, and another peep, and he'll need binoculars soon. He's really opened up a gap. This is the first time the French race crowd have seen him since he won the Arc de Triomphe, and they're really loving this, and they're giving him a great ovation, and Reef enjoying it too, and he's opening up a gap. gap of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lengths as he strides away. You don't often see £30,000 prizes won with this ease. It's Mill Reef and the rest nowhere.
The clamour now was for a rematch with Brigadier Gerard. But first, Mill Reef returned to Epsom for the Coronation Cup, only to get the fright of his life. However, it was subsequently found that he had a touch of the virus on him that day. The Brigadier, meanwhile, was about to lose his incredible unbeaten record of 15 straight wins up at York, when Derby winner Roberto finally lowered his colours in a race that many find inexplicable even today.
They 2.5 furlongs to run now, and as Roberto still just has the advantage of Brigadier Gerard, these 2.5 begin to draw away from Rheingold and Gold Rod, but it's Roberto still holding the lead, and they've got about 1.5 furlongs to go, and Roberto seems to be holding his own against Brigadier Gerard as they run up towards the final furlong. It's Roberto holding Brigadier Gerard, and as they hit the furlong from home marker, it's Roberto's running away from Brigadier Gerard. They've got about 150 yards to go, and it's Roberto. He's going to win, no two ways about it. Brigadier Gerard can't get him. They've got about 50 yards to the line, and as they come towards the line, Roberto is the winner, and Brigadier Gerard, unbeaten record, is absolutely smashed to smithereens, and then comes Gold Rod, and finally Rheingold, and some way even more.
Despite that defeat, the rematch of the two great horses was still the race everyone wanted to see, and the Brigadier soon returned to winning ways. Meanwhile, Ian Balding was patiently building Mill Reef back to full fitness. But the dream came to a shattering end early one morning on the Kingsclear gallops, when the little colt's off foreleg gave way in a routine piece of work. For many a horse, that would have been the end. But Mill Reef survived the surgeon's knife and cheated the trauma of the operating table to retire to stud and pass on his brilliance to generations to come.
Longchamp, the heart of Parisian racing, with its statue of Gladiateur framed by magnificent, copious stands. But this season, French racegoers have experienced a rare situation, that of the Paris season being dominated by two fillies, Dahlia and Allez France.
Making ground in the centre of the course.
Their first clash came in the French 1,000 guineas.
Going clear, striding away to a magnificent win at the line. Allez France is the winner from Francis Archimont second.
And Snow Knight has hit the front.
Dahlia went on that year to win the 73 King George and performed the incredible feat of winning it 2 years running in facile fashion in 74.
Going to win it in 1974. It's Dahlia going clear again, being pressed by High Clear for the Queen. Then comes Dancaro and Boy, but racing up towards the line. Dahlia has it well sewn up from High Clear second and at the line. Dahlia is the winner, High Clear is second, Dancaro third, Boy 4, Garlington King 5, 6 was Snow Knight and 7 also Edwardian and 8 free.
But there were two great fillies on the scene that year, and Allez France proved that fact in the Arc.
Then Magouillard, then Paul Lister behind Paul Lister is Cameron. They've got a furlong to run now. And it's Allez France from Comtesse de Loire. And Comtesse de Loire putting in a great challenge towards on the outside. It's Allez France and Comtesse de Loire. Allez France just in the lead from Comtesse de Loire and up the line. It's a photo between Allez France and Comtesse de Loire. Magouillard is third, Cameron 4. Then comes Paul Lister and Ribot and behind them. Card King and On My Way.
A great performance by Allez France, but for the great race of the 70s, in many people's opinion, the great race of the century, we have to go to the Grundy-Bustino battle in 1975 in the King George at Ascot. The Derby winner, Pat Eddery up, trained by Peter Walwyn, against Bustino, Joe Mercer in the saddle, with Dick Hearn running two pacemakers to ensure a murderous gallop for his thorough and tough stare. It was set to be a real battle, but we had no idea how heart-stopping it was going to prove.
From Grundy the favourite in second, then comes Star Appeal third. Dahlia's coming there strongly four. Behind Dahlia is Ashmore, then Libras Rib and Card King as they level up for home. And Bustino from Grundy in second, Star Appeal and Dahlia, then Ashmore. Then On My Way beginning a run towards the stand side at the 2 furlong marker. And it's Bustino, Joe Mercer being pressed by Pat Eddery, now Grundy, then Dahlia in third place as they race towards the furlong pole. It's Bustino and Grundy together. Then comes Dahlia, then On My Way. Bustino on the far side, Grundy on the near side, the 3-year-old and the 4-year-old, they race into the final 150 yards, and it's Grundy going on from Bustino and Dahlia and On My Way.
An unforgettable race with two high-class animals giving their all. Grundy proving just the stronger, the younger generation prevailing. 2 years later, an almost as popular win. It was Jubilee year, the Queen's Silver Jubilee, and it was the Oaks. If that wasn't enough, she was to go on to win the St Leger, beating a horse who was to win 2 Arc de Triomphes.
Firmly now, the colt and the filly who've gone clear with 3.5 furlongs to go. Alleged leads, Dunfermline is second, making ground from the pack, a Guadagninian classic example. Lucky Sovereign is beaten, so is Alwyn. Romezzo is last of all. 2.5 furlongs to go, and it's alleged by a couple of lengths only from Dunfermline, who's closing all the time. Alleged, who's never been beaten so far. Dunfermline who won the Oaks, and Dunfermline is now almost on terms with Alleged. It's between these two. They've drawn right away from Classic Example, coming now down towards the distance, and Dunfermline goes into the lead. Dunfermline ahead of Alleged on the inside rails, inside the final furlong, and it's Dunfermline and Willie Carson. Could this be another Royal Classic? Alleged is fighting back, but Dunfermline has the advantage. Racing to the line, Dunfermline is going to win it, and at the line, Dunfermline is the winner. Alleged is second, and these two are miles clear of 3 Classic Example, 4 to beat.
But if the 70s were dominated by anybody, they were dominated by Vincent O'Brien and Robert Sangster, leading owner of the time, who, along with John Magnier, put the money and force into Coolmore.
Virtually, I'm a professional owner. I love every day. I mean, it's a sort of 7-day week. Involves a lot of travel, a lot of hard work. But the rewards are very rewarding if you come up with a top horse, good horses.
And there were a few better Sangster horses than the Minstrel, whose main rival in the Derby was Blushing Groom, whose rider, Henri Saumenet, had never been round before until Jimmy Lindy showed him how.
You've got about a half a furlong to run before we straighten up to come out of it, Henri.
Blushing Groom is in 8th place, and still going well as they run down into the turn now with just over 3 furlongs to run in the Derby, and it's $1 Million Man being pressed by Hot Grove. The Minstrel coming there in 3rd place. Then comes Be My Guest making progress. Behind them, Blushing Groom on the outside unleashing a run. Behind him is Monseigneur. They're coming to the 2 furlong marker. It's Hot Grove from the Minstrel, then Blushing Groom, and Monseigneur still making rapid progress towards the stand side. But it's Hot Grove from the Minstrel and Blushing Groom, then Monseigneur moving into 4th. They're racing into the closing stages now, and it's Hot Grove from the Minstrel, Blushing Groom and Monseigneur. 100 yards to run in the Derby. The Minstrel coming to challenge Hot Grove, and it's Lester Piggott and Willie Carson. The Minstrel on the near side, Hot Grove on the north side, and the Minstrel wins it from Hot Grove. Blushing Groom is 3rd.
Leicester at his most powerful. And another Sangster flag bearer of the era, the dual Arc de Triomphe winner, Alleged, who showed plenty of courage from the front to repel the rare raid from New Zealand of Balmerino.
Stand side, and it's Alleged now from Balmerino and Crow as they race to the closing stages inside the final furlong now, and it's Alleged being pressed by Balmerino. Alleged on the far side, Balmerino and Hyperion, and comes Dunfermline on losing a ring run, but Alleged is going to hold him at the line. Alleged wins it from Balmerino. It's a photo for 3rd, but
12 months later, Alleged was back again to land the double, a double first. He did it the hard way, from the front, the only horse to have won the Arc de Triomphe twice.
We're in the business to produce stallions. If one was in it to exist to race for prize money, I mean, I'd pack up. I wouldn't be doing it. The Americans are different. I mean, they race for prize money. That's why they kept a Found in training this year. That's why they kept Seattle Slew in training, because the prize money is very, very good. I mean, a horse like that can earn $700,000 in a year as a 4-year-old. And I mean, that is the American objective. They shoot for the prize money.
Sangster's then base was in the Isle of Man, but his stallions were in Ireland.
I mean, I don't get any advantage personally myself from the Irish-based stallions, but I think they are more enlightened, the Irish government, with, I think there's no tax on stallion nominations in Ireland, where there is in England. But that's not the reason I send mares there. I mean, it just happens that the setup is very efficient in Ireland. We've got to get the highest fertility results, and I find that, you know, Coolmore return me 90% of my mares in a foal.
Back in 1984, when Sangster's Sadler's Wells won the Eclipse, few then realised that this was going to be the preeminent stallion of his era, though it must be said others were to be benefiting more than Sangster from this great sire.
Coming with a run through on the inside. Sadler's Wells strikes the front inside the final furlong. Here comes Time Charter in second place. Sadler's Wells, Time Charter, Morgan, Crystal Winners and Miramar Reef. Up toward the line, it's Sadler's Wells holding up the...
For the best horses, the best jockeys.
We've got to give Cauthen a chance. We've got the best trainers, we've got the best horses in the world, we want the best jockeys, simple as that.
Now, how do you feel that Leicester's going to react?
He said to me at the December sales, he said, I suppose you'll be getting Robert Redford to ride Hawaiian Sound next year.
Ballydoyle and Coolmore was all about the production of top-class stallion prospects. They used the finest minds in the world, then the legendary Vincent O'Brien, succeeded, of course, in time by Aidan O'Brien, the undisputed master of Ballydoyle. And if they couldn't breed the stallion prospects, then they would cast around and buy in the best around, such as Danehill, champion sire in Australia, twice winner of the Vernon's Cup, has a huge following in Europe and the States as well, and of course, his son is another super sprinter, Mozart.
Danehill storms into the lead from Silver Fling, a prayer for wings, finishing fast on the outside. But it's Danehill going to win this race for the second year running for $1. Danehill storms away to win the Ladbroke Sprint. Danehill wins it. Cricket ball runs on.
Mozart's performance in the July Cup at Newmarket was awesome, and running in the colours of Michael Tabor, arguably one of the men who has replaced Sangster in the modern setup at Ballydoyle and Coolmore.
The in-foal mare Confused was one of the last to complete. What a display here by Mozart.
And on a unique weekend in June 2001, that stallion superstar Sadler's Wells saw the winner of the Oaks in Imagine, to be followed a day later by the great Galileo in the Derby.
Imagine settle down and fight it out. Fighter Francie getting into the clear as well. Imagine takes it up with 50 yards left to go. And Imagine goes on to win the Vodafone Oaks. Photo second, Fighter Francie, the Royal Filly got...
Galileo's brilliance made him the most valuable stallion prospect of the modern era. And no finer team to exploit his commercial potential than that led by John Magnier, the Colossus of Coolmore, dark glasses perched on top of his head as usual, and that brain working faster than anyone else's in the business.
The story of Shergar, who was trained here in this box at Beechhurst in Newmarket by Michael Stout, is one that soared to spectacular triumph before ending in despair. When he won the Derby in 1981, it was one of the most breathtaking performances in the 200-year history of the race, as a young Walter Swinburne drove him well clear of his rivals. Then, a glittering stud career was on the cards for the Aga Khan's pride and joy, but within 20 months, he'd been stolen from Ballymanny Stud in Ireland by the IRA, and it's widely believed that he was dead within a few days, and the whereabouts of his final resting place remain a mystery to this day.
Shergar turned the Derby into a procession.
You need a telescope to see the red. They have a column to go, and Shergar is galloping them into the ground. 16 lengths at least. Wally Swinburne looks round. He's on his own. Shergar, clear of his field. He's climbed this mountain. He has eased up. Shergar wins the Derby.
Shergar by a record 10 lengths. And in the King George, it was Shergar again from the best of the older horses.
Shergar making ground over on the far side now, racing down towards the furlong pole, and Shergar, the 3-year-old, burst through to take it up on the far side. It's Shergar now from Madam Game Master Willie Fingal's Cave, putting in a good run, but as they race into the closing stages, Shergar lengthing in his stride is going to win it in tremendous style, but at the line, Shergar wins it.
One of the principal developments of the last part of the 20th century was the breaking down of national boundaries and racing becoming a truly global sport, with the top horses campaigned on every continent. One of the earliest triumphs for Europe abroad was out in the Far East when Stanera won the 1983 Japan Cup, a typically hard-fought battle. It's always a tough race. It's growing in eminence year to year. Globetrotters come in all shapes and sizes, But no victory for sheer emotion, excitement, and, may I say, improbability matched that of Royal Academy in the Breeders' Cup in 1990. El Piggott back at the top of the international scene.
Great burst on the outside in the white cap, but they're inside the final furlong, and Leicester's making great strides on Royal Academy in the green jacket on the wide outside, and he's going for everything. He knows where the winning line in. He's driving into the post. It's a photo, but Leicester wins it. Would you absolutely credit it? Royal Academy has won.
Look, that's one of the team, the O'Brien family, and the stone face will crack soon. I'll tell you it will. Yes, I tell you it would.
And for sheer enterprise and courage, the long trip down to Australia for the fabled Melbourne Cup, which brings the country to a halt. This was Dermot Weld, Mick Cannan and Vintage Crop in 1993.
Then the Phantom Vintage Crop is running on them in drum taps. Down to the 300, Tiago Nicolink in front of Frontier Boy. 3 away, Vintage Crop starting to storm home from Tennessee Jack. Tiago Nick in front. Vintage Crop is storming home on the outside. Vintage Crop on the outside grabs Tiago Nick, then Mercator, and the Cup is going back to England. And Vintage Crop has won the Melbourne Cup by 3 lengths to Tiago Nick and Mercator.
But ahead of everybody in driving on the internationalisation of racing have been the Maktoum family of Dubai. It's been their vision to break down national barriers. And in 1997, at their marvellous Dubai World Cup meeting, Sheikh Mohammed Singspiel, who'd won the Japan Cup the year before, triumphed at Nadal Sheba.
It's Singspiel and Jerry Bailey in the centre siphon. On the outside is Stanpin. Then comes Key of Luck, but it is Singspiel as they race inside the final 100 yards. Another for Jerry Bailey and Michael Stout. Sheikh Mohammed wins the Dubai World Cup with Singspiel.
By the end of the 1990s, the floodgates of international travel were well and truly open. And Pilsudski, one of the real tough customers of the modern era, triumphed in the Japan Cup under a wonderful drive from Mick Cannan. An unrelenting battle won by top-class jockey and a very tough horse. It didn't take long for the American wunderkind Steve Cauthen to mature on British soil into a top-class champion with an uncanny sense of pace and timing. He was brilliant from the front, and in Slip Anchor in '85, he had a mount to match his own merits.
Third is Supreme Leader, theatrical, hanging under pressure, staying on his land. Francome is not going to get anywhere near his stable companion. That's Slip Anchor. This is Steve Cauthen. Steve's first Derby victory, driven out to the post, staying home, coming home well. One horse race, and that's Slip Anchor. Slip Anchor the winner from Law Society.
Cauthen enjoyed a wonderfully productive partnership with Henry Cecil and got another Derby riding from the front on Reference Point in '87.
Comes to the run. So Harry Lewis comes to the run. Bellotto tries to make ground on the left of the picture. Sadid starts to pick up ground. Also looking for room is Groom Dancer. I think just over 2 furlongs to go. And Reference Point has it from Ascot 9. Then comes Most Welcome and Sir Harry Lewis. Bellotto makes good ground on the outside. Entitled coming with a run. They've got a furlong and a half to go, and the favourite has it, but only just. As Most Welcome throws down a big challenge. Reference Point in the yellow. Most Welcome with a noseband. Bellotto starts to pick up ground in the white sleeves, but Reference Point holds on. Reference Point really battles. Most Welcome second. Bellotto is third. He has to be straightened down close home, but the favourite wins. Reference Point a photo for second.
Unassuming and modest, Steve Cauthen was genuinely popular with the public. But no man was more popular with the betting public than Lester Piggott. He came back from retirement to stage an impossible feat.
Sheik starts to pick up ground, running the rail, Lucky Lindy, but it's Pursuit of Love in the lead. But here on the outside comes Lester Piggott in the white cap on Rodrigo and Triano. As they come inside the final furlong, it's Rodrigo and Triano. More significantly, Lester Piggott's going to take his 30th classic. Rodrigo and Triano's going to take it. At the line, Rodrigo and Triano the winner. Lucky Lindy is second. Then Pursuit of Love
In June 1993, an off-course revolution, with the Jockey Club's total power coming to an end as the British Horse Racing Board took responsibility for the running of racing, the brainchild of a visionary of modern times, Lord Stoker Hartington.
When Sheikh Mohammed's colours were successful for the first time at Goodwood in 1977, it marked the beginning of the biggest investment in the history of the turf. In the past 20 years, he and his brothers have spent billions on their racing and breeding empire, the cutting edge of which is the Godolphin team with their famous all-blue colours, who reached their zenith on the course with the mighty Dubai Millennium.
One of the Godolphin pathfinders was that crack filly Balanchine, who showed the benefits of wintering in Dubai like all the other Godolphin horses when beating the colts in the '94 Irish Derby.
King's Theatre, that clear of Colonel Collins and Riff 4. At the furlong marker, Balanchine is 2.5 clear. King's Theatre in second and third place. There's Colonel Collins as they race up towards the line. The filly's going to do it. Balanchine strides away to win the Budweiser Irish Derby under Frankie Dettori. Balanchine wins it well, 4.5 lengths. King's Theatre second is Edwardian, 8 Camasine.
There's Sheikh Mohammed, and he will be delighted with this, even though King's Theatre runs in.
Soon the sight of Saeed bin Surur walking in beside a big race winner for Godolphin became a familiar one. And the team hit the heights with a real tough colt in Lamtara. He nearly died early in his 3-year-old career, but he won a derby and went on to greatness by landing the Arc de Triomphe.
They're turning for home now, and as they do so, it's Lusso being swallowed up now by Lamtara. Lamtara has hit the front. It's Lamtara and Frankie Dettori from Pure Grain and John Reed, and here comes Swain on the outside, and then Freedom Cry. Freedom Cry on the near side has taken it up now from Lamtara on the far side. Lando is finishing fast for Germany, but it's Freedom Cry from Lamtara as they race into the closing stages. Lamtara is fighting back. It's Lamtara taking it up again as they race towards the line. Lamtara's won it. Lamtara's won it from Freedom Cry. Swain was third and fourth.
A high point for Godolphin under a brilliant ride from Frankie Dettori.
Front at 35 miles an hour. What if we, joined by Double Eclipse and Source of Light, assessor the Blue Jacket?
By no means an all-time great, but one who carved himself a real niche with the racing public was dear old Further Flight, who in 1995 became the first horse to win the same group race 5 times on the trot when taking Newmarket's Jockey Club Stakes.
There's a roar going up from the crowd. It's a Source of Light, the leader. They've got 3 furlongs to go. Double Eclipse is after him. Then 2 lengths back to 3rd place, which is Further Flight, who's starting his run now. They come past the bushes. There goes Further Flight, going for this historic 5th win. They've got just over 2 furlongs to go. Double Eclipse back to the boards. Here comes Further Flight. Michael Hill's on the outside, has got the winning post in his sight. Don't rule out Cufflink, Yellow Cap on the inside, but Further Flight, look at him go. What a tremendous racehorse this is. A furlong to go in the Jockey Club Cup. A race that he's made his own. He's clear by 3. Double Eclipse rowing away. Cufflink is out of it. Assessor stays off the paces, but Further Flight comes home, takes his 5th Jockey Club Cup, his 21st win. Further Flight is the winner. A victory.
1995 also saw the retirement, for the 2nd time, of Lester Piggott at the age of 59. He rode 4,493 winners, second only to Sir Gordon Richards. He was 11 times champion, rode 30 British Classic winners, including 9 derbies. No, there won't be another one along in a minute.
Thank you very much.
For the most extraordinary feat of jockeyship, look no further than September the 28th, 1996, when Frankie Dettori rode all 7 winners on a top-class card at Ascot. It was an afternoon of spiralling panic in the bookies' head offices, and with good reason.
I could just picture my dad with his, he's got his little glasses and he's got the remote control and he pressed the numbers of teletext, and I could picture his face looking, all 7 horses come out 1.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he turned around to my stepmother and said, I think teletext's not working. And she said, why is that?
Yeah.
She said, well, it's one of those 7 races. Something must have gone wrong.
Again now as they enter the final 150 yards, Wall Street from Salmon Ladder as they race up towards the line. It's just Wall Street from Salmon Ladder as they run to the line. Wall Street and Frankie going to win the opener.
Wall Street was just another Saturday afternoon racing result, and even Diffident's victory in the second race caused no ripples on the pond.
And then I saw Crown Prince coming, but it was too late. It was a very, I think probably the most luckiest winner of the year for me. Nice Group 2, and I was happy to have 2 out of 2. And at that stage, I was thinking, well, I hope I haven't used all my luck, because the big race was coming up.
The big race was indeed coming up, with Frankie booked for Godolphin's Mark of Esteem in the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes.
But it's Bosworthshire, the filly, who's taken it up and attempting to become the first filly to win it, who won the Guineas in 40 years. But Mark of Esteem sprints, and Mark of Esteem and Frankie Dettori, he completes a fantastic treble. Frankie, Mark of Esteem has won it from Bosworthshire. First Island was third, and 4 came charging.
With 3 on the board, the first faint ringing of bookies' alarm bells could be heard.
And now coming there fast is Decorated Hero under Frankie Dettori over on the far side. And Decorated Hero has come now to take it up from Russian Music and KV. It's going to be another for Frankie Dettori as they race up towards the line. Decorated Hero sprints away.
No hero to the bookmaking trade, though. That's 4 on the board. 6 doubles, 4 trebles and an accumulator. Trouble is looming.
Davina Luna on the outside, and here's Faithfully being produced by Frankie Dettori to challenge Questonia and Pat Eddery. Prancing is in 3rd place. Abea's putting in a late run. A furlong to go, and Faithfully strikes the front. Prancing challenging, so is Questonia and Abea, but Faithfully and Frankie Dettori bidding for this fantastic 5-timer, and he looks as if he's just going to do it. Though Abea's finishing very fast.
With Faithfully winning and making it 5, the old enemy don't know whether to hit the panic button or reach for the heart bills.
Serious on course. And we got to the last furlong, and she started to get a little bit tired, and I could see Pat coming. And I mean, the last 100 yards, I just managed to save a little bit to get me to the line, and we won with 3/4.
It's a scarcely credible 6, and the bookies are gazing into the abyss. Desperate to take evasive action, the off-course trade heaves money onto Fujiyama Crest, the 7th ride of the day, in from 12s to 2s, until some of their eternal cost, the on-course layers stand their ground.
So what was September the 28th like for the bookmakers? We've got David Hood from William Hill, Mike Dillon from Ladbrokes, the big 2 bookies. How much did you lose that day, you two?
I think between us we managed to shoot in about 25 or 30 million, the whole industry.
Wow.
It was quite a day, yeah.
I mean, what was it like that day? It's been described as, what, the worst day in bookmaking history?
Black Saturday is how we labelled it, and I think that's accurate, Derek. It was our equivalent to the stock exchange crash.
Going for the 7-timer, Northern Fleet and Pat Eddery in 2nd place. Running on in 3rd is Embryonic, Fujiyama Crest and Northern Fleet. It's a desperate finish as they run up to the line. Fujiyama Crest finding a bit more, and it's 7 for Frankie. Fujiyama.
A day of days, an unrepeatable feat of jockeyship, and proof perhaps that God's a punter after all.
My fingers, we took the pictures, and we walked through the gate.
And running through the whole era of Lester Piggott, Steve Cauthen and Frankie Dettori, the common thread of the everlasting Pat Eddery, who rode his 4,000th winner when winning the 1997 St Ledger on Silver Patriarch.
And it's Haltara with Windsor Castle on the outside, then Vertical Speed and Besiege. Pat Eddery on Silver Patriarch, ridden along but pulling wide to get a run. And look at Shea with Panama City, the fly going to be played late. Book of Bedtime isn't out of it either, plenty in with chances. The roar goes up from the crowd. Haltara the rail, Windsor Castle, the light blue cap is Vertical Speed. The grey horse is Silver Patriarch sticking his head out. Shea, here comes the fly, very wide on the course as they come down to the 2-furlong marker in the Potemkin Ledger, and it's the favourite Silver Patriarch and the French Raider, Vertical Speed, who now duel. The Fly is out wide, running in his third consecutive classic. Windsor Castle behind these, down towards the final furlong, and it's Silver Patriarch stretching well, but Vertical Speed is pestering him. Here comes the Fly on the outside, but with 150 yards to go, it's Silver Patriarch. Eddery coming home on his 4,000th winner in Britain at the line. Silver Patriarch, the favourite, wins the Potemkin Ledger. Vertical Speed is second, then the Fly is third, tied for 4 book at bedtime, and Windsor Castle won for the judge, clear of Panama City and Shea, and then Poseidon. Then we have,
but perhaps the most memorable of Pat's victories was that redemptive win in the 1986 Arc on the mighty Dancing Brave.
Furlong to go, throws down the big challenge to Baby Turk. It's Baby Turk next to the rails, then comes the main, then a Catananga, then Shigari, followed by Sharastani, then Bearing making well on the very wide outside, and Dancing Brave on the extreme right of the picture. Pedigree asking for everything, a furlong and a half to go, and it's Shigari now who strikes the front. Durara with the noseband, Bearing on the very wide outside with a white face Sharastani, but here comes Dancing Brave, firing down the centre of the track, and it's Dancing Brave now who's come to take up the running. Dancing Brave is going to go on. Dancing Brave is going to win at the post. Dancing Brave from Bearing, Sharastani at Triptyque, then Shigari and Durara at Catananga and Mersey, then centre.
The turn of the century between 20th and 21st was blessed with 4 quite exceptional racehorses. Among the very best of them, the mighty Dubai Millennium, who pulverised an incredibly strong field in the Dubai World Cup. Frankie and Dubai Millennium gave the Maktoum brothers a memorable triumph on home soil. Dubai Millennium's early retirement through injury and subsequent death was a shattering blow, not just to those connected to him, but to the sport as a whole.
From Sindar in second, best of the best fading.
The best of the Derby winners? Well, it may well have been Sindar, who beat Saki, went on to win the Irish Derby by a country mile, and then completed that rare treble by winning the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Another fine flowering of the Aga Khan's bloodlines laid down so many years before.
And King's Clear, who was a nutcase today, finished last of all.
And the other great Derby winner, Galileo. He came on from his Epsom triumph to the Curragh, and he left them toiling hopelessly in his magnificent wake.
But Galileo opens up to the furlong pole. It's Galileo, 4-5 lengths clear. In second is Morsti. In third place is Pugin as they race up to the line. Mick Canaan is going to win his first Irish Derby. Galileo completes the big Derby double. This is as good as it gets. Galileo wins it impressively.
A spectacular triumph for Galileo and Mick Canaan, a man with the assassin's accuracy when it comes to the big race. But for sheer courage, look no further than Giant's Causeway. Quintuple Group 1 winner at 3, an absolutely irrepressible force in a finish. He just hated them to go past it.
Fantastic light. He can't get out on Shiva at the moment. Kalanisi and Border Arrow staying on. They're inside the final 2, and now push comes to shove. Saki, he likes a battle on the rail. Giant's Causeway, the mare Shiva's coming at them, and Giant's Causeway gets past Saki, but can he hold off? Kalanisi on the outside, Shiva between the pair. It's Giant's Causeway. Kalanisi swooping down the outside for the Aga Khan, but Giant's Causeway fights back on the far side for George Duffield. They race head-to-head. Giant's Causeway and 53-year-old George Duffield.
O'Brien's success with Giant's Causeway and Galileo had rocketed him to star status and the highest echelons of training. But surely even he couldn't produce another multiple Group 1 winner in 2002. His most consistent 2-year-old in 2001 was the Alex Ferguson-owned Rock of Gibraltar. But he didn't appear to be spectacular. So when he won the 2,000 guineas in 2002, he wasn't regarded as O'Brien's first string, and many felt that runner-up and stablemate Hawkwing was an unlucky loser.
Stand side, Hawkwing is kicking clear of that group. Rock of Gibraltar gets the lead on the far side from Redback. Hawkwing kicking away on the near side. It's Rock of Gibraltar far side. Hawkwing, an explosive late run, but Rock of Gibraltar won it from Hawkwing, then Redback zipping back in fourth.
All the horse can do is win, but nobody, except perhaps O'Brien himself, could have possibly predicted the brilliance Rock of Gibraltar would subsequently display. He was next seen in England in the St James's Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot.
Ram back in the field, Bowman giving them a big start, and 2 lengths last of all then is Where or When. They turn the corner now in the St James's Palace Stakes, and on the outside DuPont has raced up now to take a narrow lead from Sahara Desert. Lancia produced from King of Happiness. Here's Rock of Gibraltar on the outside from Camp Commander, and Bowman in behind horses, but at the furlong Canan says go on Rock of Gibraltar. Have a look at this. Rock of Gibraltar on the outside, ranges up, grabs the lead, it's all over. Rock of Gibraltar careering away. He's gone 2 lengths in front of the stablemate Lancia, and Rock of Gibraltar makes it 5 Group 1 wins in a row. What a win to the St James's Palace. Beats Lancia, tight third, a Ram just ahead of DuPont, then Where or When, followed by Bowman.
Rock of Gibraltar would sweep all before him that summer. Here in the Sussex Stakes, he was 13 to 8 on to do the job.
And sees only no excuse needed in his slipstream. They race down inside the last quarter mile now. Real Buddy set sail for home past Sahara Desert. Then Novair pushed along. Rock of Gibraltar still travelling well under a very confident Mick Canan here. He's cruising. No excuse needed behind these runs on. Real Buddy Novair. He's yet to pop the question of Rock of Gibraltar. Here comes Rock of Gibraltar, and what a wonderful turn of foot. A perfect racehorse. Rock of Gibraltar, 6 Group 1s. The Rock wins the Sussex Stakes. In second, Novair. Real Buddy third. No excuse needed 4, and last home Sahara Desert.
Group 1 victories simply don't come any easier than that. The great Rock went on to break Milreith's record of 6 Group 1s in a row, and should be going to stud with 8 Group 1s on the bounce, but luck and judgment were against him at Arlington in the Breeders' Cup. A brilliant racehorse who delighted all those who saw him in action, Rock of Gibraltar was indeed a true champion. Jockey Mick Canan described Rock of Gibraltar as the perfect racehorse, and who could argue with that? But for sheer racing drama, look no further than the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes later in the summer at Ascot, when Sir Michael Stoute produced Golan to become the first horse ever to win this Group 1 on his seasonal debut.
Here's Naef now looming large, followed then by a Calleriston on the outside. Storming home is now being popped the question. Grandira with about 5 or 6 lengths to make up. They're on the turn for home in the King George, and Zindabad hard ridden, but here's Naef storming home on the outside too, followed then by a Calleriston. Grandira in behind them from Golan. Inside the final 2 furlongs, Zindabad boxing on well, being tackled now by Naef, who moves up to take a narrow lead. Golan is running on very well on the inside from a Calleriston. It's Naef in front, but being grabbed all the while by Golan. Naef and Golan settle down to fight it out. 100 yards left to go. Naef being grabbed by Golan. It's head and head, neck for neck, and on the inside, Golan. A magnificent win for the Winestocks. It's Golan who wins the King George in second.
Stoute and Fallon teamed up the following year for the Epsom Derby with the relatively inexperienced chestnut colt Chris Kinn. But a massive nationwide gamble had the bookies running for cover, but there was nowhere to hide.
But on the inside is the Great Gatsby from Dutch Gold. Alberto Giacometti in behind them. They're followed a little bit wider out by Balestrini. In behind them is Brian Baru from Lundy's Lane, and then they refuse to bend. Further back in the field then Franklin's Gardens, who's trapped out a bit wide with a noseband. In behind them Chris Kinn as they charge down to Tatnam Corner. Further back in the field then is Shield, who's in the centre of runners as they come now towards Tatnam Corner. They've got 3.5 furlongs furlongs left to run in the Derby. And on the far side, the Great Gatsby and Dutch Gold fighting it out from Ballastrini. Behind them, Alberto Giacometti is coming under pressure now as they straighten up for home. Then on the outside, a Lamb Shah's coming from a mile back. Then Chris Kin the inside from Refuse to Bend. And they've kicked away now as they race up now with just under 2 furlongs left to travel. The Great Gatsby goes for home for Pedigree, the oldest rider in the race. Ballastrini out after him from Dutch Gold. Here's Chris Kin. Norse Dancer down the outside with the Lamb Shah. The Great Gatsby falling in a hole with a half furlong to go. Chris Kin coming at him strongly. The Lamb Shah right down the outside with Norse Dancer. Chris Kin gets the lead and Chris Kin has won the Derby. Chris Kin has won the Derby for Kieran Fallon. The far side, Great Gatsby second and Lamb Shah is third.
Fallon had overcome a career-threatening injury and the dreaded drink to win his second Derby. It reinforced his iconic status as the punters' champion. Flat racing began with matches head-to-head, and while much has changed, the very best horses battling it out to the line remains, at heart, what the sport is all about.
That's it. They're ready now for the Derby. Set. Racing in the Derby. Pretty good start too. Hazy View is going to be one of the early leaders. American Post is vying for an early position, and Meath is now crossing over to take it up early for Ireland. Then in 4th position as they settle is North Light, who's right up there. So too is Percussionist, and Let the Lion Roar behind them from Pucker, as they're all the time climbing under the trees now, turning very sharply right. Now they veer left over to the far side of the course. The leader is Meath by a couple of lengths to Hazy View, and North Light has got up into a handy posse, and so too has Percussionist. Just behind them is Let the Lion Roar, and American Post is handy on the outside. Back in centre field, the Gamble Pucker. Then on the outside is Gatwick as they settle. Back in the field too on the inside, Frankie Dettori on Snow Ridge. Al Shadi is well back. Massive Central is wide there, followed by Rule of Law with a white cap, and Salford City is at the back of the field. They've gone the best part of 3.5 furlongs, and Meath is the leader from North Light, who's handy. 2 lengths away in 3rd is Hazy View. Percussionist has had a good run up in 4th. Let the Lion Roar is there, just preceded by American Post. Then out wider is Pucker. They're followed by Gatwick, and then coming again as they start to run downhill now. Further back in the field, Frankie on the inside here on Snow Ridge from Al Shadi, then Salford City, and at the rear of the field now is Karen McAvoy on Rule of Law. They start to run downhill, less than 6 furlongs to race in the Derby, and the leader on the inside is Meath by half a length. The North Light has been there throughout. A length and a half then to in 3rd Hazy View from American Post, who's beautifully poised. Further back is Pucker, who's right up there as well. Then Percussionist being hard ridden. Further back in the field then is Gatwick, and here comes Frankie on the outside on Snow Ridge. Then followed by Salford City, and well back in the field then is coming again, but heads a turn for home in the Derby, and North Light moves up to grab the lead from Meath. Here's American Post on the outside from Hazy View. Pucker right down the outside, then Gatwick percussionist. There's Frankie on the outside on Snow Ridge, but it's Kieran Fallon in front on North Light, the far side at the 2. American Posters coming at him. They're followed by Hazy View right down the outside. Now is Frankie on Snow Ridge and Salford City, Rule of Law, but it's North Light who strikes for home with a furlong to go. He's 2 in front of American Post percussionist. Salford City trying hard to wear him down, but this horse is lengthening well. North Light 2 or 3 in front, flying to the death is Rule of Law, but the winner of the Derby is North Light. Second, Rule of Law, tight third, Let the Lion Roar and percussionist. A gap then back in the field, Salford City, American Post, then Hazy View, followed then by Pucker. Well back was Frankie on Snow Ridge. Some of the last runners are El Shadi in company with Coming Again and Meath. Meath has got the Derby. I should say North Light has got the Derby. I beg your pardon. North Light has won the Derby. Meath has finished last. It's close second. There in the centre, it's Rule of Law. On the near side, Let the Lion Roar. Might have got third, just ahead of Percussionist the far side. Then in 5th is Salford City. In 6th is American Post. In 7th, Frankie on Snow Ridge. Eludes him again. In 8th, Hazy View. In 9th is Pucker. In 10th is Gatwick. 11th is Massive Central. And Meath was behind that. But here are the final stages. Kieran Fallon on the outside. He's now become the Epsom man. The man for Epsom. His 8th ride in the Derby. His 3rd win. And back-to-back wins for him as well. North Light has won the Derby, trained by Sir Michael Stout, who has now won the Derby 4 times, and owned by Ballymacole stud, the stud of the Weinstock family, and how proud they are of this winner. Let's check the placings. There's Sir Michael Stout, Coral Pritchard Gordon, his partner, in the foreground, and a delighted man. The man who trained Shergar and Sharastani and Chris Kinn has now added North Light to that impressive total. The winner is number 9, North Light, owned by Ballymacole stud, trained by Sir Michael Stout, ridden by Kieran Fallon. Second is number 12, Rule of Law, owned by Godolphin, trained by Syed bin Sarur, ridden by Kieran McAvoy. And third is number 6, Let the Lion Roar, owned by Neil Jones, trained by John Dunlop and ridden by Mick Cannan. Fourth is number 10, Percussionist, owned by the Sangster family, trained by John Gosden, ridden by Kieran Daly. A length and a half and ahead, 2:33.72.